Hey everybody, I'm Sierra,
And I'm Ben.
and welcome back to another episode of The Unsolved Couple, where every week Ben and I recap one of your original gateway drugs into true crime.
Unsolved mysteries.
Here we are, Benjamin, another week.
Another episode.
Another episode. Things are cooking here at Unsolved Mystery Podcast, Unsolved Couple Podcast. That's what we're called. Things are starting to finally get steamy with Unsolved Mysteries this season.
Ooh, steamy. It's an interesting word choice there.
It's starting to get hot outside, so we're here. Outside. Yeah. I mean, not to, get the people too steamed up.
Are you trying to steam things up?
No, but put some fun things on the horizon. Today we're talking about something fun. Talking about crop circles coming up.
That's right.
Yes, right. I did that one.
I forgot that was.
We've got reincarnation coming up, Loch Ness Monster coming up. So,
well, no, not in this episode.
No. This is just a palette teaser. I don't think that's the word. This is just a teaser for kind of what to expect over the next couple weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
This season finally started to get interesting.
We're starting to finally see some, because the thing that I loved about Unsolved Mysteries is that it was true crime heavy, but it was not all unsolved mysteries as in law enforcement or missing people. There were segments that we talked about some of the unsolved mysteries of the universe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't remember that. But season 1 had a lot of real good stuff. And this season has been, I think we've talked about it, but it is something better in these next 3 episodes.
Yeah. Okay. Besides Unsolved Mysteries, were you into any sort of, as a kid, 90s kid, any sort of like ethereal, mystical, Dungeons, like I guess Dungeons and Dragons really wasn't a thing when it kind of run its course, but anything along these lines as far as like mysteries?
That like intrigued me?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Not really. I was a pretty boring person.
I don't think boring is the right word.
I mean, I was your typical boy. I grew up. I loved Star Wars. I loved that. But that wasn't anything,
No, like you read Goosebumps. So there was that, right?
I loved Goosebumps.
But then like that to me led to Stephen King and scary movies and haunted houses and more kind of, Along Came a Spider, detective novels. Yeah. It led down to me liking The Labyrinth and weird sort of fringe things and always having like a place in my heart for those. Like the movie Toy Story stresses me out, but I can watch a scary movie and love every second of like the jump scares.
But as you get older, you don't like
I don't like the slasher heavy on the gore. And that actually, I mean, we've got some time. So Saw was one of the first like
I never watched that movie.
Yeah, so ever. My first like major scary movie I remember seeing in the theater, I think I've talked about this before, was Scream. So that's like an original slasher. That's along the line of Michael Myers, stuff like that. I still love those movies. For our
generation, that was one of the originals.
One of the first movies that scared me the most was The Ring, which I think most people listening to this, that was the case. I showed that movie last year to our 13-year-old son and a group of his friends.
And they laughed.
They laughed. They thought it was stupid.
Which I don't know if that's a good thing for our society, because that one terrified me too.
Yeah.
That was a scary movie.
It was a scary movie, but I remember this is before you and I knew each other even existed. I went on a date, and the guy had gotten to know me. He had come into my place of work several times. I was a waitress, and I worked the morning shift. So I got a lot of people coming in there for either their lunch break or coming in to grab something on their way to work, because we had an espresso bar as well. And this guy had known that I liked haunted houses and scary stuff. And
you get excited about that stuff in the fall time.
Yeah, I get very excited about it in the fall. Really still to this day.
Well, and I love it too. It's a lot of fun.
Which I have a proposition that I need the people's help for, but we'll talk about that at the end. That includes Ben, and if we can meet some goals before Halloween.
We'll see.
Okay, but he took me to see the Saw movie because that was a big thing at the time, right?
Nope.
And I sat through that movie. And it was the first time that I thought, I don't know if I want to be on this train anymore. I like scary movies and I like being frightened. And I don't even mind some intensity in the haunted houses I go to. But the theatrics of a haunted house and stuff like that is always like, these are people choosing to be here and it's fake. Now, I know this about these movies too, but it is so real.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. That's where they went too far for you. And even if you look at like the generation before us, their first scary movie was Halloween, right? Mm-hmm. Or The Shining, right? And
such a good one too.
But here's the thing: I've watched them and they are good. But if you watch them now compared to, they're really slow.
Yeah.
Nothing really happens for long periods of time.
You have these long drawn out before these little moments of scariness.
And that's why like even the generation after us laughs at Scream or Ring, because that's where we were at. And Saw just took it to the level where you were just unwilling to go.
Yeah.
You're like, nope.
And I only saw the first one.
I can't do it either.
Yeah. I left the movie theater. Bless this guy's heart. He tried to like take us out to dinner afterwards, and I just wanted to go home. I was done.
You were taxed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get it because I already know I can't do those
and
kinds
it's
of
like,
movies.
It's hard because I love Rob Zombie. And so House of a Thousand Corpses and a few of his works I really like. But then we went and saw the remake of the Michael Myers movie and I walked out of the theater.
Yeah, we walked out after
I was like this is
10 minutes.
too much. So anyways, my whole point is like, I feel like Unsolved Mysteries also for me on top of the true crime aspect, it also to me opened up this kind of world of being scared or, you know, what else is out there or, you know, how can things undiscovered still be a little scary for us? And that's one of our biggest feedback from our listeners is that this TV show kept them up as a child.
Yeah. And I think it was less of the lost loves, the scams and that. And it was these, I mean, some of the murder stories are a little creepy,
they're a little scary.
You have the other stuff. I will say we've had 0 ghost stories last season. We had a lot, and to the point where you have multiple people literally saying I saw a ghost or I saw this.
Yeah.
Which at that time a lot of people took what they saw on TV much more serious.
Yeah. Now you have to question everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was just a little thought I had. So let's get into it. Speaking of, I will start us out today with our first one, which is something that I remember as a kid learning about, and we didn't quite know the full extent, which is crop circles. Had you heard, did you know much about crop circles?
No, the first time I ever saw things about crop circles was Signs.
Okay, yeah. So it did reach culture levels for us, or pop culture levels, with it being in Signs. And that probably is one of the more iconic movies that put this into play. There's several other alien movies that crop circles are present, but...
I just think that's the one that everyone saw.
But you knew what it was when you saw the crop circle. You understood...
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember seeing Signs, but I don't know. I guess.
Such a good movie.
It is a great movie. Mm-hmm. That is a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually the United Kingdom crop circles. I did a little bit of research. I think later on, and whether or not this episode's been pulled or not, they did do one. There was some crop circles that happened in the United States and in Canada. And I believe the Unsolved Mysteries actually went on to do episodes about those ones as well. And we'll find out maybe why that is important here in a little while. So this is labeled as the unexplained. Crop circles are a recent phenomenon at the time of, this was being filmed.
Was this 90 or 89? Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was.
That had been occurring within the last 30 to 40 years. Throughout England, many large crop circles had appeared. Nearly 95% of these crop circles were located near the mysterious landmark known as Stonehenge. Full stop. I want to go there so bad someday, but I don't know a lot about the lure of Stonehenge. I don't know
either.
Anything about it. So that's another, deep dive for another day. Charity Down is a farm located several miles away from London. On June 15th, 1988, farmer Chris Woods drove a tractor through one of his wheat fields when he saw a giant circle that appeared in the middle of the field. Now, I will tell you this, as a farmer out in the early morning, it's foggy, it's cold, it's wet, we're in England. To be driving along your tractor, this is before social media and a lot, that would take my breath away.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine his first thought is someone came into his field and messed with his crop, which he was probably going to be pretty ticked about.
I love that that's your first and mine is instantly like aliens, ghosts, something creepy happening. Yeah. Nobody could explain how this circle had appeared. Since the late 1970s, over 750 similar crop circles have been found in fields throughout southern England. Some of them have been as large as 100 yards. They appear overnight in a field of wheat, rice, and corn. The corn ones were the ones I was most well known with here, I think, in America. The circles are never cut, but pressed down in a swirling pattern, both clockwise and counterclockwise. Interestingly enough, the crops are not damaged and are actually able to be harvested normally. There are never any footprints, tire tracks found near the circles. Some appear in 2s and 3s.
I don't believe that.
In 4s or 5s that make them a complex geometric shapes. Some have satellites or similar crop circles around them. They, with some smaller rings, amazingly, some have both satellites and rings. Several researchers, including Pat Delagondo, Colin Andrews, and Archibald Roy.
Colin Andrews?
Colin. That'd be unfortunate.
I was going to say his parents
were not nice.
Yeah, let's name him.
And Archibald, can you imagine?
Archibald or Archibald?
Archibald. Is that what did I say Archibald?
You did say Archibald.
Archibald. Have studied.
Just one episode. We're just going to give you a list of names, and that's what you're going to do the whole episode.
No one would listen to that.
Read names. Colin. You mean Colin?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, you guys. You got to take the good with the bad. When it comes to reading out loud, I will say this is a big deal for me to even have a script and read it and not basically fully memorize. Because reading out loud is not my strong suit.
But at least you're a good sport about it.
I mean, I remember in school being very embarrassed by it. But here's the thing. I'm a weird duck. I have kooky things, and if I can't laugh at it, then nobody else can. And I have dyslexia, and I am a terrible speller, and I cannot, for the love of anything, read out loud. Do you want to tell the story?
No.
No. I mean, you know what story I'm talking about? The most epic reading out loud and not connecting what I was reading to what I knew it to be while we were driving to California together.
No, this is
Flagstaff. We were driving to.
So we're driving. Where were we going?
I think we were going.
Well, we're heading to Utah. Meet your family for your family reunion.
Yeah, kids. My kids. My parents had our kids And it was just me and you in the car. Yeah.
And we're heading up the highway.
Interstate.
To Flagstaff. And we're have to get on the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
And Sierra sees the sign. And I'm driving, she's directions. And she sees Los Angeles? Los Angeles? What is that? I was like, what? What are you talking about? And she's like, that sign. It says Los Angeles. Like, Los Angeles? Because it was I-10 or something. It was one interstate that if you took it west, it'd take you to LA.
Fair. And my dyslexia gets worse as I get like tired.
It'd been a long day. We'd already been in the car for a while.
We'd worked that whole day. We were leaving. We didn't leave Tucson until very late in
No, we were in San Diego.
Oh,
and then
that's
we drove
right.
from San Diego and we were going to Salt Lake.
It's a long drive.
And it's a long drive.
It's a long drive. My dyslexia gets worse. I don't think I had my brain.
Well, we weren't even making it all the way. We were trying to get to Moab, I think.
Yeah, and like I had these symptoms with brain. Like I could not connect some dots, and like the moment he said it, it came into focus, and I was like,
instantly saw it. But first, when you originally saw it, it just did not.
It didn't connect. So, anyways, yep, that's me. I'm the problem.
I wasn't trying. I just thought you were reading some great names. And
yeah. I was okay, so they actually have gotten together and they're studying the crop circles. They do not believe at the time of the recording that these are hoaxes.
They're very adamant.
Adamant about it. They base this on the details that have been put into the circles, along with the large amount of circles. As part of a television experiment, British military personnel tried to create crop circles with several tools. Researchers determined that the difference between the hoax circles and the real, quote, circles is what is happening to the plants. The root in the real circles are softened, bent, and then rehardened. If the circles are not a hoax, what is truly creating them? Several theories have been brought up and discarded. I will say, watching this episode was interesting because we now know the answer now. But at the time, fair, they didn't. And getting the military involved to come out and say, hey, here's kind of some common stuff. I want you guys to create your own crop circles. And no one could recreate them exactly the same. That is intriguing to me.
But it also really brings into question experts. Because you have PhD. These
were not just random people in the community trying to figure this out. This was
they have scientists,
highly intelligent men, professors,
military people,
trying to solve this.
Are looking you in the camera and saying, "I do not believe this is a hoax at all."
Yeah,
and this is why, because of all my expertise and what I've done, we can't do this. It's not a hoax. So. I
just think sometimes book smart people have a hard time thinking outside the box.
Okay, fair. But when you then get a group of people, that's mentality. Why you bring. No, but that's.
Yeah, but you brought in a bunch of other smart people.
Yeah, but the whole point.
Book smart
project
people.
Like this, for something like this. You bring in everyone, and the whole point is I need everyone to bring their different ideas and their different theories. Because the whole point is there might be something I'm missing. I need you to bring your idea.
Yes, but you brought in a bunch of other professors from different universities. That doesn't really broaden the horizon that much. You didn't bring
any backwoods boys that hang out on the weekend.
Exactly.
Out in the woods.
Exactly. All right. So we're going to pull out some more technology. Infrared technology shows that there is no evidence of sinkholes or anything similar that could have caused the circles. Although some believe that the whirlwinds might be cause of circles, other scientists and farmers believe that whirlwinds could not do that. Regardless, the circles appear to form overnight. They believe that some are related to lights that are also seen in the sky during the nights that the circles are later found. One sighting occurred July 6th, 1985, while Pat and Jack Collins, this very adorable, English couple. They reminded me like they got plucked right out of Harry Potter. Saw what?
Never mind. Keep going.
I'm just going to refer everything I know about England back to Harry Potter because that's my only frame of reference. So they saw circles in the lights. They saw a circle with lights all around it in the sky. They believe that it may have been a UFO. According to Colin Andrews, 2 circles were found the next day in direct alignment with the UFO. In the summer of 1988, a British team of scientists began surveillance operations hoping to observe crop circles being formed. The operation went on for 8 days and nights. No circles, unfortunately, were formed during that time. Interestingly, though, throughout most of southern England during that time, the creator of the circles apparently might have known about the watch, bringing the possibility that intelligent life might exist outside of Earth.
There's always an excuse of why they didn't.
I love that the fact that they thought, hey, maybe someone was aware we were going to record and do this, meant that intelligence had to be so severely above these men that it had to be aliens.
It probably wasn't the farmer boys driving by and seeing all those trucks and stuff hanging out on the hill and setting stuff up and say, hey, let's not do this tonight.
Many scientists, even though they did not find any circles, they did find that there was an energy field.
No, there wasn't.
In one of the circles. Many scientists believe that an energy field is significant. Nobody has any idea who or what made the circles and why they are there. Some of the research, I'm going to give you just some highlights of what they did. Richard G. Andrews has investigated the English crop circles. Pat D'Angelo and Colin Andrews have spent over a decade studying the crop circle phenomenon and have even written a book about it. Originally, they received reports of 1 or 2 in the 70s, 10 to 20 in the 80s, and 98 within 5 months of 1988. Then in 1989, there were over 200 circles in just a few months. According to D'Angelo and Andrews, they do not believe that the crop circles are weather-related. Some research at some point start believing that these are a hoax. This seems to be like a very touchy subject amongst scientists, that they've been potentially bested by people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you've now dedicated 10 years of your life's work.
Yeah. And that's what I think. Again, that's where we start to get into this, right? You've dedicated 10 years of your life work to this. There's no way that this could just be a hoax.
Yeah, you can't accept that.
Yeah.
Because then accepting that means you have to accept that 10 years of your work was chasing down fools.
Yeah.
For no reason.
For no reason. Yeah.
And it's not me trying to take a swipe at these
guys.
No,
but you have, that it would be for anybody.
But that's human nature. We want to believe that what we're doing, there's some type of meaning and purpose behind it.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Well, as a scientist, something weird happens. Your job is to go out and explore it. But if you get tunnel vision in that exploration and 10 years goes by and you're getting more and more people saying, hey, actually, there is some evidence to say that this might not be real or this could be a hoax.
And here's the thing. Unfortunately, scientists do get called out, or they do get stuff where it is people doing a hoax. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate because they are trying to find things and
we need them to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I just think
today I can't imagine working in the world of scientific discovery with AI.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, it's hard. You are opening up the door for potentially misleading a lot of people down incorrect paths. Anyway, so Glasgow is a university professor and has studied the circles since 1980. He has not found any theories that adequately explain their formation. These theories include that the circles, I love this part because I just got to pick, I want everyone to close their eyes if they safely can. I want you to imagine that someone, every time Ben has to have one coughing fit during that hundreds and hundreds of hedgehogs are coming up out of the ground and forming these circles. That's one of the theories.
I think he says.
No. He's saying this just as he's listing off all of the theories that he's kind of basically, I don't want to say debunked, but just he's had to look at. And but I just thought that was the fact that even made it to the desk of somebody. I loved.
I'll give them this. At least they were willing to keep all their options open.
Yeah. That this is imprints from UFOs, helicopters, whirlwinds, and or a hoax by humans. However, his biggest reason that he believes that they're not hoax is because of the large amount of circles that have been discovered. He's not discounting the theory that this is a hoax because humans aren't intelligent enough to do it, but that it would take a lot of work to do this many.
I agree with him.
I do too. I was like, oh, that's actually a fair point.
But here's where they didn't do research. They didn't go down to the local pub and hang out with these guys.
Yep.
And them telling stories and then all their buddies getting together and saying, this is really funny. And it wasn't just a couple. Now you had
because you saw at first that there was 2 or 3, then there was 10s and then 20s and then into the hundreds. It grew over the span of like 10 to 20 years.
It's a
you see a ripple effect. Yep, exactly. So that is kind of where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us. Robert Stack comes out and asks for people they're looking for more. The thing about science is you need more research. You need more things to study. So they're asking if anyone has experiences with this or has photographed or finds one to please report it in so that they can continue to study these things. And that's kind of where it leaves us.
All right. Update. I guess.
Yeah.
Aliens came and Mel Gibson and his family defeated them.
Yeah. Thanks to the girl who I felt very seen in that movie, that water tastes weird depending on what glass it's in or where it comes from, because that is a real thing.
No, it's not.
I was watching that movie and I was like, my whole life, this has caused problems.
You felt heard.
Yeah, finally. Okay, so 1991, 2 men, Doug Bauer and David Cronley, came forward claiming responsibility only for a handful of the crop circles that occurred in 1978 in England. Yeah. So I read several articles on these men.
I did read up a little
They were 2 men who got together. I'm sure their wives loved this about them almost every night down at the pub and drank themselves into giggle fits and thought it would be really funny to have a go. And he said in one article that they've been doing this for a long time before anyone ever actually found them.
Anyone noticed?
Yeah. And then once they started getting noticed, they kind of stepped up their game, did a little bit more X, Y, or Z.
And then their friends started.
Yep. I'm sure that's what it was.
They got drunk at the pub and started telling this funny story about what they did.
Yeah.
And then everyone else thought it was funny. And then they all started doing
Turns out they were using a piece of wood and some rope.
Yeah, I saw that. I watched a video of how to make a crop circle. Here's the best part. So you had the military, because the Corps of Engineers we have in our military, I'm guessing the British have about the same thing. These guys couldn't figure out. These guys they bested scientists and professors with a piece of wood and rope.
Yeah.
And on top of it, they were drunk.
Yeah, they were.
2 drunk guys with a piece of wood and rope bested a bunch of scientists.
Which is where I say sometimes when you are only book smart. And now here's the thing. We have those people to thank for many of today's modern miracles.
Yeah.
You sometimes forget the very simple thought that there are other forms of intelligent, like what we would call street smart. It's interesting. We studied world history this year in homeschool with our kids, and we did a lot of research and learned a lot about life in the Middle Ages. And some of the things that peasants, the low-class people at the time, were doing were incredibly smart and scientific and mathematic, but there was no like terms for it, or even the people that were actually considered that could read and were scholar or royal, that work was below them. So they didn't like, so that's what it's just a very interesting thought that sometimes it takes bread, all kinds of people who are doing things that bested people that in their mind know they can't be bested because they're Oxford and Harvard and they're very intelligent and they've probably made many discoveries and sat on very prestigious boards and two guys in a pub. So I did some research. His son actually not too long ago gave an interview just kind of talking about his dad and kind of some stories. His dad was always a prankster. He liked having fun and goofing off and doing things for a laugh. And to this day, they actually are well known in that area for crop circles. People use it actually as a space to like create art in crop circles. They have festivals dedicated around this where people make crop circles and then go out and like celebrate and do things. It seems like a really cool thing. But, and I say this but because I think it's important, there is a lot of people that do not believe that these men did this.
Of course. I've told you.
They believe still to this day that this is aliens or some unexplained phenomenon and that these men just cashed on the ability to be able to say it was them.
And it doesn't matter what you say or do, they're going to believe that. I've said this before. We believe what we believe. And even so many of times when people bring things forward, they are unwilling to accept it.
Yeah, which makes me wonder, like, let's take Bigfoot. We have no hard evidence, A or B. Occam's razor would actually tell us that there is likely not a Bigfoot because there is no major evidence for it, right? We have these little tiny weird things, these random photos and stuff like this. But there's a lot of people that want to believe this, myself included.
Yeah.
But if evidence was come forward that someone came forward and said, actually, over the last 20 years, my family and I, or the last 2 generations, this has been a joke that we've done, and we've got cousins and aunts and uncles and whatever involved, and it's time to come clean. People wouldn't believe them.
Well, and I mean, I'll give people this. These guys can claim responsibility, but they technically aren't bringing forth, at least from what I could see, any evidence that they did do it. Right? They can show how they did, how they can create one.
Well, yeah,
but
they didn't have smartphones back then. They weren't taking videos of them doing that at night.
Bringing forth any evidence that they made that crop circle, the original ones.
Yeah, they had video or they had interviews now where they showed them making them and how they did it. But yeah, there's no evidence except both of these men's word that everything previous to that they had a hand in.
But I've said this before. Before I am willing to just accept aliens, I think there's a lot of steps I need to go through first. Mm-hmm. And that one that one I'm going to go with. That one should come first before. And here's the thing. The scientist did say,
unless you find something to prove it's wrong, until you can eliminate it, that theory should potentially be
some of the
placed above.
Theories. And the scientist did continue to say, we are still accepting that this is possibly a hoax. They never eliminated hoaxes. They didn't believe it because they couldn't recreate it, but they did say it could still be
I think they had blinders on that there was that if these very smart, learned people couldn't figure out how it was done, that nobody else could.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. So that's, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's fun because growing up when we did, like these guys came out in 91, we were like in 1st or 2nd grade at that time. So I knew by the time I was older that these men had hoaxed this. So we've seen it kind of then turn into a pop culture phenomenon. And so it's been kind of fun to see this because there are things to this day, Bigfoot being one, the UFO drones, lights in the sky sightings in New Jersey this last winter. Like we to this day see things that have not been fully resolved to the end. So it's kind of cool to see something that was originally deemed as potentially being UFO or otherworldly or something along those lines to be on the other side of it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what? A great movie came from it. Signs.
Yeah, I agree. All right, love. What do you have for us?
All right. I got a weird one.
Are you good? Do you need to take a break and clear out?
I'm sorry. I got it. I got to figure it out. It's coming. It's going to be okay. All right. I got a story about 2 missing guys in Silver Plume, Colorado.
Did you do any research on Silver Plume today?
Yeah, I just looked it up.
Okay.
It's still there.
Okay.
Back in 1987, population 130. It's up to like 180 now. So it's growing slowly but surely. All right. It's a booming town in Colorado. It does look beautiful though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'd love to go there.
I'm here for it. It's supposedly up in the mountains. If you're in Silver Plume, Colorado, send us a note. All right.
Yeah. It looks beautiful there.
All right. We get told of a weird connection between 2 disappearing men. Okay.
Yeah.
September 7th, 1987, Tom Young and his dog, he closes up his bookstore and disappears.
I did think you brought up a funny point of how many people in this town needed to buy books.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little. What kind of businesses do you run? I don't know. 9 months later, Keith Reinhardt. But I guess now about almost a year later, Keith Reinhardt, August 7th, 1988, he closes up his antique shop, which is in the same exact building.
Same location. Yeah.
Yeah, as the bookstore.
And he had a cat. There was a dog in the first shot and a cat in the second shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the things I noticed.
He closes up his shop and he disappears. Robert Stack tells us, is this coincidence? We have 2 men in their late 40s. They had the same shop. Did they just...
Okay, but this is a small town. For 2 people in a small town to go missing a year apart from each other, both men of a similar age at the same work location, that is weird.
They both had an alibi when they were leaving?
Yeah, they both had made their plans known.
And we find out one was writing a novel about the other.
That is weird.
Dun, dun, dun.
And this is why Ben is a skeptic. And I'm like, oh, yes. What happened here?
All right. So Keith was a sports writer.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd done that for 23 years out of the Chicago area. And in 1988, he decides he's going to go on a 3-month sabbatical.
That sounds like a dream.
Yeah. I guess sabbaticals used to be a thing. They're
so
not a thing
the only
anymore.
place I know that actually did paid sabbaticals, do you remember Intel?
I was going to say, I know because I grew up in Hillsboro, Oregon, which is where Intel is headquartered.
And they are what? Like computer software? They make the chips or something. I don't know what they do exactly, but a big portion of Hillsboro is employed by Intel.
Yeah, they have multiple campuses there. And every 7 years. You
get a paid, I think, 3-month sabbatical.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, let's bring that back.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever coming back. Like once companies realize they don't have to do that.
But I would be like, we were poor college students and we would hear about these people like in social circles, either their parents or whoever. And we had a few single friends that worked there it's paid 3 months. They would go on these incredible, like life-changing adventures.
I don't think it's life-changing.
Life-changing as in the fact that you get to like live abroad for 3 months while making a pretty good paycheck.
Yeah, I mean...
That would be life-changing to me.
Listen, if my work wants to let me go home for 3 months and they want to pay me, I am here for it. But they don't. That's not. They
would like you to be there. Actually, I think if some of your supervisors had to say, they would sign up for the Ben Turner sabbatical.
Yeah, that might be true. All right. So he decides, you know what? I got to get out of Chicago. I got to head to this little town of Silver Plume, Colorado. I need to get in shape by mountain climbing, he says, overcome his fear of heights, and write a novel. That's such a midlife crisis if I've ever heard one. And that's what they're worried about, that Keith's having a midlife crisis. So he wanted to run an antique shop and see if it would do well. And if it did, he was going to move his wife and kid out there. Kid. And they're now going to live in Silver Plume, supposedly. But he's going out there by himself first. I guess he decided, hey, listen, you know what? I don't just need a 3-month sabbatical from my job. I need it from my family, I guess. I don't know.
If you came home and you're like, hey, super quick.
I got an idea.
For 3 months, why don't you hold the fort down? I'm going to just go mountain climbing and run an antique store and write a book. So, I'd be like, great. We shall never be joining you.
So Keith is, they don't tell you exactly, but I guess he's turning 50. So we're going to guess he's right around 49 years old.
Yeah.
So, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's maybe he's evaluating all of his life choices. I guess even his marriage. I don't know. But he decides, all right, I got this shop. I'm going to set up this antique shop. Well, come to find out, he starts learning about the shop, that it was a bookstore run by Tom Young. Tom had been there for a year, and Tom closes up shop. He had told everybody, hey, I'm going on a European vacation.
Yeah.
So Tom disappeared. And 3 weeks later, people started getting suspicious because Tom's not showing back up.
Mm-hmm.
So they then called the police, but it's been 3 weeks and they don't even really know. Did he leave? Did he not? I don't know. Or did he just up and move? They don't know.
I'm guessing he didn't have a lot of ties to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Keith learns about this guy that had run this bookshop, and he becomes obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. They say he's going around town. He's talking to all the locals about it. He's getting all types of obsessed about it.
Well, he sees an idea here to write a book, right? Based on this. Yeah.
So with his obsession of this comes his book, and he starts writing it about Tom Young with the guy's name, Guy Gypsum. All right. So that's what his book is based off of. That's all we know. We actually don't really know a lot.
I was like, did we know the plot or anything, or like the grain he was taking from this to turn it into a story?
No. But on July 31st, 1988, after Keith has set up shop, doing all this stuff, writing his book, obsessed, Tom's remains are found.
Yeah.
A mile and a half outside of Silver Plume. It's like in the mountains.
Yeah.
And not just his remains, but his dog too.
I know. I hated this part.
Yeah. So they find his remains, his dog, and there's a revolver there.
Mm-hmm. And the revolver's registered to him. This is his
he'd
weapon.
He'd bought it a week before this. And it appears it's ruled a suicide.
Yeah.
So sad.
He took his dog's life and then unfortunately took his own.
Yeah. So.
And again, they didn't share anything about his mental health, his history, his finances, his family, his connections. So we have no clue. We don't know a whole lot about what potentially led to this.
Yeah. A week later, what did I say? August 7th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Keith locks up his shop to his antique shop, starts going around town and telling everybody, hey, I'm going on a hike up to Pendleton Mountain.
Yeah, I'm hiking up Pendleton Mountain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he locks up his shop in the morning?
Nope.
Afternoon?
Walks into Ted Parker's cafe. And Ted Parker was
him and Ted Parker become like buddies.
Well, they were childhood friends. They grew up together.
Okay.
And Ted Parker had moved out to Silver Plume, and he goes into his cafe and tells him, hey, I'm going to go on this hike. And Ted was confused because, like, this is a 6-hour hike. It's 3,000 feet up.
It's not an easy evening, go look at the sunset hike.
And they say the last he's seen is about 30 minutes later, so around 4:30, walking out of town with no supplies, just a flannel shirt on and tennis shoes. And he's never seen again.
Yeah.
The next day, his friends are like, hey, what happened to Keith? And a search party is started. And it's one of the biggest search parties in Colorado.
Yeah, I was
at the time.
actually quite impressed with, like, one, how quickly they noticed he was gone. Two, how much they like dumped into it. Because at the end of the day, this is like a physically fit male who went on a hike, and they like brought out the cavalry for this search.
Yeah, they don't tell you this in the episode, but in my research, a plane crashed and the pilot died, and someone else was seriously wounded trying to find him.
Oh, my
it
goodness.
Happened that week.
Yeah.
They had airplanes, helicopters.
Well, they had a specialty mountain searching team.
Yeah, a specialty rescue team who they said almost had 100%.
They said up into rate. This search had 100% find rate. That didn't mean like success as far as like getting people out, but they found every single person that they ever were asked to look for up until this search.
Yeah, and I think they said it was about a week later this plane crashed. They'd searched, and pretty much it just got too dangerous, and they weren't coming up with anything. So Robert Stack comes back. Is this a coincidence? Two men, same shot, book about each other. They said they found a newspaper article about Tom's remains found next to his computer with his book being written on the computer.
Yeah. And did you write down the line that, like, the last line of the book that was written?
No.
I didn't either. Dang it. It said so. It was ominous.
How he left with,
Yeah.
So, but we get interviewed. His wife gets interviewed, and she says, I don't think it's suicide. His son or his daughter says, I suspect foul play. They suspect he stumbled into something about Tom's murder. They think there's a massive conspiracy in Silver Plume, Colorado. To take out these people. I don't know. Tom was murdered, and then Keith was so obsessed with it he found out he was murdered, and he got too close to the truth.
I think grief does that to people big time.
So,
all right,
that's where they leave us.
Okay.
Update.
What's the update?
Never found.
Really?
Never found his remains or anything.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Personal opinion after watching this, I didn't do a lot of research on this one. I think these two men were having both midlife crisis. They were in isolated small communities. I have a feeling that either something financially, emotionally, or physically changed, and they had thrown all their eggs into these one baskets and walked away from it.
Here's the thing. That's
just my speculation.
There's not much about Tom, as you can imagine. He was just a guy that ran a bookshop and ruled a suicide, which there's no reason to not.
Yeah.
Right? So there's not a lot around. There's a company literally they've been doing a documentary on Keith since 2014. They have yet to release it. I guess they don't have a lot of funds for this documentary. But yeah, there's just people that don't want to buy into it. And I'm not sure why, because they haven't brought forth any evidence that.
It is weird to me that a man who was living in Colorado in the summertime tells everybody in the evening he's going on a hike and has no water, no food, and a set of tennis shoes on.
Yeah, but why would that lead people to believe that there's foul play?
No, I don't think that there was foul play.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying everyone is drawing this conclusion. Not everyone.
I have a feeling that he didn't even go up that mountain.
Probably. Here's the thing. I don't know, but what I do know is that there's no way there's a conspiracy about Tom and Keith that people decided we got to get rid of these guys. And one, you have brought zero.
Well, Tom,
evidence.
we already know the answer. he chose to take his own life, unfortunately.
But people still don't believe.
I understand
there's
that.
Some
but
people.
Tom, he either got injured and ended up succumbing to the elements because he went out unprepared because he was from Chicago and didn't understand what he was doing, or he changed his mind and went to a different location so people didn't know where to look for him. Or the news that his muse of his book had taken his own life. Maybe he was in too deep and that sparked a thought in his mind that he couldn't get out. I don't know, but I think both of those are far more likely conclusions than a conspiracy.
I agree. And here's the thing. These people are saying this on here, but yet there's no evidence.
No evidence.
At least not that I have found.
Yeah.
And it is clear that Keith was going through something. The man decided, I got to go. I got to write a book. I got to do something. He was trying to do something with his life. And he was going through something.
Yeah.
And that's terrible if it led to taking his own life. That's awful.
Yeah.
But it was a weird story.
Yeah. It was a weird story.
Not a lot. There just wasn't a lot there. And
it seems like that area hasn't been massively developed or anything where they likely maybe would have found remains.
I was really surprised that they didn't find, but it is Colorado. It's the mountains. There's a lot wildlife plus nasty winters.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay. Well, before we get to our next story, we've had some fun downloads. I'm going to share them with you. And hey, welcome to all of our new listeners. And if you're from any one of these areas, we're excited to have you. Here, Spiria, California. Hesperia, California. Something like that. Homestead, Pennsylvania. That sounds like a cute little town.
Homestead.
Yeah. Reading, England. I looked it up. It's like on the Thames. It looks beautiful. Santa Ana, California. Osteen, Florida. Perk, Illinois. Is it Illinois? There's an S on the end of Illinois. People, reach out. Is it Illinois or Illinois? There is an S on the end of Illinois. Is it a silent S?
Yeah, but there's also an E in Oregon. And
Oregon?
But we don't say Oregon.
Yeah, but why put an S on the end of a word if it doesn't exist?
And also, technically, you say Arkansas. It's technically spelled Arkansas.
I know.
But you say Arkansas.
I'm just saying, Illinois has an S on the end of it. Okay. Forest, Virginia. Okay. This is, you guys, here's the thing about Asian names. I am going to mess them up every time. Tel Avia. I think that Avia. Tel Avia. This cannot be right.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's 2 words. Virginia, just Virginia. Oh, Forest, Virginia. The Villages, Florida. And I think that's about it. Childsburg. Yeah, Childsburg, Alabama. York, Pennsylvania. Norfolk, Virginia. Maybe someone from the CIA is listening to us and they think we're onto something. Isn't the CIA in Virginia? Norfolk? No, that's FBI. Langley. Who's in Isn't some agency in Norfolk, Virginia?
Norfolk?
Yeah.
I think there's a big Navy thing.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
I've never been in Norfolk.
Birmingham, I think that's again in England. And Sandpoint, Idaho, Trinity, Texas.
Ooh, Sandpoint.
Boulder, Colorado. Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. We've had a lot. We've had a lot of new locations. There's several on there. I will wait and do another day. But thank you guys for either listening to us while you're traveling or listening to us while you guys are at home cleaning or grocery shopping or working out. We're excited to have everyone new here. If you're new here, please make sure that you are following us on TikTok and Instagram at Unsolved Couple Pod. We also have a Facebook discussion group, Unsolved Couple Podcast. We have an email address for any questions. It's unsolvedcouplepod@gmail.com. And then our last little request is if you do follow us anywhere, to make sure that you hit the follow button on all of the downloads and that you subscribe to the downloads, so it just automatically shows up in your feed every Tuesday. And to please leave us a 5-star rating and review. It means the world to us and it goes really far and it really helps get our name out there. We are a small independent podcast. Okay. That's that. So, I've got a sad story for you guys about a young man named Keith Dungee. It's listed as an unexplained death in Unsolved Mysteries. 19-year-old Keith Dungee was a young student looking forward to college. On the afternoon of December 23rd, 1988, he joined his friends, Laverne Allen III, Kenneth Newkirk, and Darius Bannerman on a trip to some late Christmas shopping. They had planned to take an hour-and-a-half drive from Greensboro to Raleigh along Interstate 40. 17-year-old Laverne was driving his father's Plymouth Duster. He had just received a scholarship from the Air Force Academy. 19-year-old Kenneth was an engineer student who was planning to start college in the fall. 17-year-old Keith was in the back seat. He had recently received a scholarship to a local college, and his 17-year-old cousin Darius was a high school basketball all-star athlete. They had been friends for many years. While driving along Interstate 40, they passed a car belonging to a man named Grady. That's what it is. Grady's interviewed in this episode of Unsolved Mysteries. So he gives us a description of kind of what he notices about this group of young kids out on December 23rd. So they passed him on, the left-hand side of the freeway, how you're supposed to. He said, look, they were having a good time. Just a car of teenage kids. To the point where he even noticed, these kids look like they're having fun. And I imagine when you're driving, it takes something for somebody to notice things.
Well, he said he looked over. One of the boys locked eyes with him, and he waved.
Yeah.
They waved to each other.
Yeah.
He said they weren't.
Yeah, everyone's in a good mood, right? It's December 23rd. They're with their friends. They're going out and having some fun. Yeah. However, a few seconds later, he noticed a blue Monte Carlo speed past him, apparently seeming to follow the group of boys. He noticed that it had a Georgia license plate and that there was a man and a woman in the vehicle. At this point, the Plymouth Duster's occupants also start to realize that someone is coming up behind them at a high rate of speed. That is a scary thing. Everyone has looked in their rearview mirror, and all of a sudden a car that was not there is now there and is gaining on you. To the point where he actually rams into this group of boys, the blue Monte Carlo, and doesn't seem to be an accident. From what everyone, the witnesses, including the boys in the car, can tell, this seemed to be intentional of some sort. Darius had actually fallen asleep in the back of the car. He is awoken by his friends and the hit to their vehicle. So the driver, the boys in the car driving start to speed up, weaving between cars in order to just try to get out of the way of the Monte Carlo. However, it continues to follow them extremely close behind. Darius notices that the driver had an angry, if almost crazed look on his face. He is driving so close to them that he looks in his rearview mirror, he can see the occupants in the car. As if he was coming after him, like they had done something to him. The Monte Carlo's driver went to the side and sideswipes the boy's Plymouth Duster. And then when behind them, he hits them again. After being struck several more times, The boys unfortunately lose control of the car and go off the side of the road, causing it to flip and land in a field.
Well, it just goes to show he went to the side to sideswipe him and then went back behind
That's
him.
intention. That's intent. That wasn't, I'm in a fight with my girlfriend and I'm not paying attention and I accidentally bump into somebody. Not that that's an excuse, but this was, you turned your vehicle into a weapon at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
A few minutes later, at around 2:30 p.m., police and paramedics arrive at the scene. Larvin was trapped in the car for about 30 minutes. After being airlifted to a trauma center, his leg unfortunately was amputated at the thigh. Kenneth had a fractured skull and a broken leg. Darius had broken his wrist and was covered with facial injuries. Sadly, Kenneth Dungee was pronounced dead at the scene. Yeah. Eyewitnesses all described a man and woman in the Monte Carlo who briefly actually pulled over and stopped the car, got out, looked. The woman yelled for the man to get back in, and then they drove off. The police would like to speak to the driver of the Monte Carlo. Since Kenneth and his friends were African American or are African American, the accident has been suspected to be racially motivated, but the killers have yet to stand forward and take any credit for the alleged attacks. I think that they were kind of under the theory that if this was some sort of hate crime, maybe by someone who was a part of a hate crime group or community, that they would almost like we see terrorists do to this day. The KKK is a terrorist organization that they might try to brag or take credit for this.
Or be involved in more stuff down the line.
Exactly. And basically that is kind of where Unsolved Mysteries, they have nothing to go on. This is before cell phones. No one could take pictures. No one thought enough to write down a license plate. I mean, I think everyone who witnessed this was in shock.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you're seeing this take place. This car obviously was attacking the other one. Many people pulled over to try to help, try to assist, but no one was able to get much of information except that the color and make of the car, where the license plate were from. And there was a sketch released. He looks just like a grungy, dirty, old, I don't know, white guy, who maybe looks like he's done a lot of drugs and alcohol in his life, like kind of sallowed, sunken in face.
Yeah.
Yeah. They described him as looking kind of dirty, greasy hair. I mean, that's about all they have to go on. And that's where Unsolved Mystery leaves us, hoping to try to get some information on it.
All right. Update.
Unsolved.
It's terrible.
I know. So, I will tell you, I did some research. The surviving men have all gone on to start families and have successful careers and seem to be living as much as they can very full and fulfilled lives. They seem to be good people that have taken this tragedy and instead of using it to maybe start down some paths that weren't good, used it as fuel to go out and be good members of the society. Every message board that I could find about this episode of Unsolved Mysteries and this crime, several of the men or their children have at least people claiming to be them have posted on there saying that while they would like this to be solved, that they have kind of come to the realization that it likely won't be.
There's just nothing to go off of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
And now, especially, you got nothing.
Yeah. The only thing that I did find, and I couldn't find this substantiated by, I think this was listed in 2 places. I couldn't find it on any, like, police reports or anything. Again, because this case is still ongoing, there's not a lot of information on what the police have or don't have out there. A female informant has come forward claiming that she knew the killer's identity. She claimed that he was a friend of her brother's. The unidentified subject was told this information, brother, that he had committed the crime. He stated and bragged that he was a wanted fugitive on a TV show called Unsolved Mysteries, and that he had ran a car of African-American teenagers, that wasn't the word he used, off the road. Since then, he had spent many of his days in and out of prison. The informer further states that he looks identical to the sketch. However, it is unknown if he has been questioned about this case.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess if anyone knows anything out there, please feel free to either get it to Unsolved Mysteries, get it to us, and I'll send it over to someone. I couldn't find any, doesn't seem like there's a current detective on this case, so I don't have a phone number or a tip line dedicated solely to this. But yeah, I mean, that
terrible and
is
scary.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Ben. Are you that's it, right, for our episode? Or do you have another story?
No,
that's it. Sorry. We are actually, Ben and I are oddly
we're prepared for the next one already.
Yeah.
Too. So
yeah, our kids are going to an away summer camp for a couple of days, just 2 of the 3. And so we're really hoping to take advantage of that and try to get ahead so that we are kind of prepared for.
We're trying to go to Oregon like we usually do in the summertime. And so we got to get.
Yeah. Rumor has it that Backstreet Boys are also doing a like 2-month stay in Vegas at the Sphere. So maybe that's, I don't know, potentially happening.
That sounds terrible.
So we've got summer plans. And so, yeah, we want to get a little bit ahead so we don't ever leave you guys hanging. We know how much you guys look forward to this every Tuesday. So, yeah, I'm trying to like keep track of all of the different things in my head. So, yeah, that's it for this week's episode. And the question I have for you, Ben, if you were going on a road trip and you had to make a mixed CD. Okay. So we're taking an old car. We're taking the 84 Honda Accord on a road trip. There's no way to plug in our phones. We got to put in the CD. Actually, I don't even think that would have been a cassette tape back then, but I've got the converter set tape. Remember the tape you could plug into your CD?
Yeah. I do. The thing was awesome.
I've got that adapter.
Okay.
Who would be your top choices for your CD mix for our car? You don't have to necessarily name songs unless you want to, but just kind of what bands or music stars, whatever, would you throw onto that CD? What would definitely make the cut?
Ooh. I mean, I'm a big country guy.
Yeah.
Love country. I think I've talked about this already. I've really gotten into some bluegrass stuff lately. Love that stuff.
I would veto the bluegrass.
Yeah, I love that stuff. So, here's the thing. I'm not a specific artist guy.
Yeah.
I am the type of person, I have a playlist right now. Mm-hmm. And if I hear a good song, I just throw it on there.
Yeah.
It's just a mix of a bunch. But if I had to go back to my old school days.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you got what, maybe 12 songs is about all you're going to get on a CD, 12 to 14?
Before I became a country guy, I was a alternative punk rock kind of guy. Blink 182, Newfound Glory, that.
Which would make a great road trip.
So I would probably,
album.
if I had to go, if you said, hey, it's not about songs, it's about artists, I would go with my old school stuff and go probably Blink 182 and Newfound Glory would probably be the main 2 that I would throw onto my mixed CD.
Yeah.
Funny story. We'll get to your answer.
Okay.
Okay. When was the last time you threw a CD?
So I was actually thinking about that the other night because our car now, I think you can put a CD into it.
No.
Are you sure?
Yep. My car, my commuter car, has a CD. I actually don't think it works. But I don't even have a CD to try.
Yeah, I found some of my CDs. I found my Megan Diaz CD and a Jewel CD, I think, on the last car we owned.
The last car, yes.
But again, I mean, that's been a long time.
So the last CD I think you and I have actually ever listened to was the Michael Bublé Christmas CD.
Oh, yeah, we did buy that several years ago.
Vehicle. Okay. Funny story. I was on this small unit at work. And so we had partners And
Yeah.
it wasn't the same guy every day. I got teamed up with this guy. He was an interesting cat. Okay. And he still brought his CD case. And he was senior to me.
Yeah.
So he kind of had the say.
Yeah.
And for a 10-hour shift, he swapped out CDs. But he ended up putting in Red Hot Chili Peppers CD. And I think it played 6 or 7 times.
I'm sorry, what? The whole CD?
All over and over.
Oh,
and
no.
over
Oh,
for
no,
an entire shift.
No. Yeah.
It was terrible. Anyways,
That
what would be your CD? So I go with a story on mine.
Absolutely. Mine would be like what I listen to. I'd probably have to do 2. I'd have to do like one 90s boy band princess pop. So you've got your classics. We've got Christina Aguilera. We've got Britney Spears. We've got Mandy Moore. We've got NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, like that whole 98 Degrees, right?
Okay.
And then my other one would be 2000s rap. Eminem, 50 Cent,
Dr.
stuff
Dre.
like that. What?
Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre.
Diddy.
No, Diddy's Benjamin David. You know better than that. Diddy's off the table. Off the table. But I even remember us have been married for several. Still, this happens to this day. Sometimes a very wild, out of pocket, raunchy rap song comes on, and I know all of the words to it, and you look at me like I don't even know who you are.
I didn't listen to that. I was never into rap.
I know, because I'm like, oh my gosh, didn't you love this song in high school or whatever? Or like ever danced to this? And Ben's like, no. I'm like, oh, we lived different lives in high school.
We just were different.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And I absolutely love those songs. So yeah, I'd probably have another one. But
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So real quick, and we'll get into this more since we're recording a few episodes this week. I kind of want to bring the people in on a Halloween challenge for you. Okay. But I don't know. In all honesty, Ben has no clue what I'm about to say.
I'm being caught off guard here.
I have several Halloween costumes that my entire marriage I've been trying to get Ben to dress up as so that we could go as something as a couple for Halloween.
Just fair warning. I love Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I love the holiday. I've never been a big Halloween
dresser-upper.
And
I'm super into it.
You are into it.
And so I have several that I have always really wanted. And some of them range from like, okay, that's not so crazy to like, whoa.
Okay.
And I think it would be fun if we could get like a certain number of reviews or downloads. And as that tier goes up between now and Halloween, changes what outfit you have to wear with me, with the top one being.
I don't know if I'm willing to sign up for this challenge.
You can help me come up with the numbers, because if my numbers, I'd be like, if we get 10 downloads, you get to do this. With the very top one being the most extreme Halloween costume that I've wanted to do for years. Do you have any idea? I've asked you multiple times to do it.
You know what? I know what this is.
What is it?
It's Mr. Darcy from...
Nope, that is on there. That is the like second to the top. But the top one is the Goblin King from the Labyrinth, and the girl from when she's at the ball, the masked ball with him.
That's terrible.
Yeah, so you can help me come up with the numbers, but I think it would be really fun, and I'm gonna guess that it's
100,000.
Okay, it's got to be achievable, but but would be magical. How about that? But so yeah, I want everyone, we'll go into it at the top of next week's episode where we kind of break down. Maybe I'll come up with like 4 or 5, and based on listener feedback, reviews, downloads, all of that, maybe we can convince Ben to dress up with me for Halloween and have it be just epic.
But we'll see.
Okay. All right, everyone. We will see you guys again next week where Ben and I recap another episode of
Unsolved Mysteries.
Bye.